This is why Obi-Wan let Darth Vader kill him. In A New Hope, we all remember the iconic scene with the most intense lightsaber duel of all time. It's a duel that will be remembered for generations. Yet, at the end of this long-awaited rematch, Obi-Wan does something that has confused fans since the movie's release. He let Darth Vader kill him.
What did you say?
Yeah, you heard me right. One of the strongest Jedi let Vader kill him. But why? Yet, while many can simply ignore this question and say that it was just due to the fact that Obi-Wan didn't want to deal with the baby Luke,
but I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
This isn't the truth. Well, hopefully not. Instead, we have 5 reasons as to why, each one more interesting and important than the last, with the first and most obvious being to buy Luke some time. When Vader and Obi-Wan finally re-met on the Death Star, Vader became so captivated by this moment that he lost any sense of importance for the other rebels and the escaping princess. Instead, his sole focus was killing Kenobi. This played right into the old man's hands, as he knew Vader would lose focus on the others. And Obi-Wan, being the troll master that he is, would just toy with Vader as they met. And this wasn't just to rage bait Vader, this was also to buy Luke and the gang some much needed time to escape. And this all came to a head when he saw Luke and the others entering the Millennium Falcon.
What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
It was at this moment he knew what he needed to do. So he stood still and let Vader strike him down, which worked flawlessly as Vader was so stunned after Kenobi disappeared that all he could do was just stand there in disbelief while the others escaped. By letting Vader kill him, Obi-Wan momentarily took the Empire's strongest soldier out of commission. The next reason is that Obi-Wan needed to give Luke a reason to fight the Empire, and more importantly, to fight Darth Vader. While at the time Luke didn't know that the burnt bacon was his dad, Obi-Wan knew it was only a matter of time before he figured it out. And as interesting as it is, he also wanted Luke to fully believe that Vader was irredeemable. And while this isn't very Jedi-like, Obi-Wan at this point fully believed that Anakin was dead. Yet, as we all know, this wouldn't work entirely, as Luke would see the good in his dad and would bring him back to the light, as Vader would redeem himself by throwing an old man down a reactor shaft. But still, Obi-Wan's death gave Luke the motivation he needed to fight the Empire. The third reason is that Obi-Wan knew he could never beat Darth Vader. I mean, just by looking at their duel, it's not hard at all to see why that is. But in all seriousness, as they fought, Obi-Wan realized that this wasn't the same man he fought on Mustafar or on that very poorly lit moon. Instead of being very brash and aggressive, Vader's style had completely altered in a way to counter Obi-Wan much more efficiently. Furthermore, at this point in time, Obi-Wan was an old man. He was well past his prime, and he also wasn't very active in fighting or in lightsaber training. While Vader, on the other hand, had spent the last 19 years hunting down and defeating many powerful Jedi survivors. He had become the most dangerous Jedi killer in the galaxy. He had also spent years learning how to best Kenobi if their paths were to ever cross again, and he learned from his mistake and his last fighting style. And this gave way for Vader to learn a new style to fight Obi-Wan, and this instantly gave Vader the advantage in their duel. And speaking of advantage, this is just a friendly reminder that the channel would really have an advantage if you could consider to like and subscribe, or even just comment. It would help the channel out tremendously. Now, back to the video. And the last and arguably most important reason for why Obi-Wan sacrificed himself was to quite literally strengthen the Force. As the asthmatic robot fought the old man with a receding hairline, Obi-Wan understood that it was his time to go. He knew that the age of the old Jedi had passed and it was time for a new era of Jedi to rise. He told this to Vader when he said,
"If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine."
Which he proved as he would return as a Force ghost to help further mentor Luke Skywalker. You see, after the Jedi Order in Republic fell, Obi-Wan knew it was only a matter of time before he would have to sacrifice himself, which played into why he spent all of his time on Tatooine learning how to transcend into the living Force, like Qui-Gon Jinn did and eventually Yoda. And this Force ability was also meant to directly troll Vader, as he demonstrated just how powerful the light side was and how little Vader knew about the Force. When Obi-Wan transcended into the Force, he strengthened it by becoming one with it, allowing himself to help guide Luke to save the galaxy. And there is another reason, which we could consider the fifth reason, is because Obi-Wan believed that it wasn't the will of the Force for him to train Luke anymore, as he understood that that task should be passed down to the death stick addicted frog living on a swamp. A much more wiser and more experienced Jedi Master, who similarly to Obi-Wan had spent the last 19 years in exile and was never found. But why was Obi-Wan never found on Tatooine? Well, I actually answered this question and more with the video on screen now. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a ton. And with that, my fellow Star Wars nerds, may the Force be with you.